Well, my goal is to have us out of here at 5 till because some of the women are going to meet together and to talk, and I've pretty well burned up our time, but I've got enough to talk a little bit here. Last week I talked about how the writer of the book of Hebrews has said to us that God has made us holy. He's made all of us holy. And in making us holy, he made us a part of a family. And so we are a family with each other. We are related by the blood of Christ to each other, and we are in God's family. Now, he continues that as you look in verse 14 of chapter 2 of the book of Hebrews. He makes some statements that I want to go through. They're not easy just to grasp the statements, but I want to go through these statements so you can see what he's saying about Jesus and then get to one primary point. Since the children of God who have been created in the image of God, have flesh and blood, he, that is Jesus, he too shared in their humanity, so that by his death he might destroy him, Satan, who holds the power of death, that is the devil, and free those who all their lives have been held in slavery in fear of death. Now, it's not easy to read that, but what he seems to be saying is, you're part of a family, but the fact that we're talking about Jesus is he became flesh and blood like you so that he could be real to you and you could be real to him. And later say he was tempted himself like we are tempted. Now, why is this all important? Yes, he came and he overcame death in his own life so that you and I would no longer have to live in fear of death. Now, I can't tell you that I am completely unafraid of death. Are you completely unafraid of death? I mean, remember I've told you over and over again one of my principles is confidence. Confidence is a byproduct of predictability. It's a byproduct of predictability. If I've done something several times, if I've done something, then I have some confidence. If I've never done something before, and now you're calling upon me to do it, I go into that with a little less confidence. I have not yet died. So it's not as, I know what it says, but I've not been through it. And so I'm not anxious to do it yet. Does that make sense? There's a part of me that's not anxious to do that thing yet. My family and I, as you well know, continue to have a continual argument about burial. And I say, I am not going to be put in a casket. And Sue says, yes, you are. And I said, I'm too claustrophobic. And she says, you won't know anything about it. And I say, how do you know? Why take a chance on a deal like this? So we don't have to be afraid. But here's what he says to be the real heart of this. He says, he is our priest. He is our priest. Now, if you go back to that Jewish world, and this is written to Jews who have grown weary, and our Sunday morning language right now, they're battle fatigued. They've just grown tired of fighting Satan. They've grown weary of maybe attending assemblies. They've grown weary of Wednesday night cooking, and they're just tired, and they're going to go back to where they used to be. Now, in their old system, there was a high priest. How relevant was the high priest to the average Jewish person? By relevant, I mean accessible. By relevant, I mean someone you could talk to. By relevant, I mean someone that lived like you lived. And that high priest was not relevant at all. That high priest lived in what you and I would call a true ivory tower. That high priest was proud of his position and made everybody know that. And so that priest was untouchable. That priest was unapproachable. That priest was not deity, but tried to act like he was. Does that make sense to you? And so I know I've got a high priest if I'm an old-time Jew and I'm seeing that priest maybe once in a while in a glance at a distance, but he's just there. I know he's there. But now we have a new priest. And he took upon himself flesh and blood to be like us. The priest that they are accustomed to was never like them after he put on those priestly robes. He may have been like them when he was a boy, but he wasn't like them in his adulthood. Everybody see that? He was aloof, he was arrogant, he wasn't like the common person. But the interesting thing is that when Jesus came to this earth, was he like a common person? He grew up with a father who did what for a living? Some type of carpentry. He learned, it's the carpenter's son. He would have learned the trade of his father. He would have been planing off a board to make a board fit, and he would be somehow making some wooden dowels to make the boards fasten together. He would have worked like everybody else among us has to work. And he would have gotten bruised and banged up in the process. And when he started meeting and greeting people in more of a public way, declaring himself as from God, was he approachable? He was constantly approachable. In fact, his disciples at times would say to people, leave him alone, he's too busy. And they would say, no. He would say, fellas, I know you're thinking well of me. I know you're trying to protect me, but just let them come. Let me deal with this. He was such a different high priest to the point he died for us. And so why would you as a Jew, growing battle fatigued, want to go back and have a priest like that when you got a priest like Jesus? Why would you possibly want to do that? And the answer is, from the writer of the book of Hebrews, that's nuts. That's nuts. Have you lost your mind? Now, he didn't say it quite like that, but that's kind of how I interpret it. Have you lost your mind? You would want to give that up? It's like Greg Turner having this really nice tractor that's got heating and air conditioning and probably got buttons you can push and it drives itself. And you come along with a 400 International that's got a tricycle front end and no cab and no air conditioner and say, Greg, you want to trade? And Greg's going to say, sure, I'll trade. Is he nuts? Has he lost his mind? He's going to say, no, I think I'll keep mine. You just be content with yours. That's what the writer is saying to those who are battle fatigued. You got the best thing going. Don't give it up just because you're weary and you're tired.